The room goes tense fast because the second this reporter pushes back and starts laying out details Karoline Leavitt clearly doesn't want on the record, Leavitt doesn't just dodge, she snaps. And instead of answering, she escalates with a chilling line about legal consequences in jail right there. On camera, like intimidation, is the new press strategy. What did the reporter say that made her go that far? And what did Leavitt blurt out in the heat of the moment that instantly turned this interview into a crisis? Stay with me, because once you see how everyone in that room reacts, you'll understand why this clip is blowing up.
Being with us, Katie. Garrett.
I have one other question, but I want to follow up on Katie's question, actually. You said the mass deportation campaign would continue, but she asked about the flights specifically. Will those flights to El Salvador continue while this case is being appealed?
We don't have any flights planned specifically, but we will continue with the mass deportations. And I would just like to point out that the judge in this case is essentially trying to say that the president doesn't have the executive authority to deport foreign terrorists from our American soil. That is an egregious abuse of the bench. This judge does not have that authority. It is the opinion of this White House and of this administration, and that's why we're fighting this in court. And it's very, very clear that this is an activist judge who is trying to usurp the president's authority. Under the Alien Enemies Act, the president has this power, and that's why this deportation campaign has continued. And this judge, Judge Boasberg, is a Democrat activist. He was appointed by Barack Obama. His wife has donated more than $10,000 to Democrats, and he has consistently shown his disdain for this president and his policies, and it's unacceptable.
You're right where I wanted to go about the idea that these people are all foreign terrorists, but Judge Boasberg was originally appointed by George W. Bush and then elevated by Barack Obama. I just feel like I should clear that up.
Well, let me just say something to that effect, Garrett. 67% of all of the injunctions in this century have come against which president? Donald J. Trump. Let me say that again. 60% of the injunctions by partisan activists in the judicial branch have come against President Donald Trump, and 92% of those have been from Democrat-appointed judges. This is a clear, concerted effort by leftists who don't like this president and are trying to impose or slow down his agenda.
So, given that, do you think it's a good use of Congress's time and the president's political capital to try to impeach and remove a federal judge, which would take 67 votes you're unlikely to get in the Senate?
Well, look, the president has made it clear that he believes this judge in this case should be impeached, and he has also made it clear that he has great respect for the Chief Justice John Roberts, and it's incumbent upon the Supreme Court to rein in these activist judges. These partisan activists are undermining the judicial branch by doing so. We have co-equal branches of government for a reason, and the president feels...
What makes this interview so revealing isn't just that Karoline Leavitt gets irritated, it's why she gets irritated, and how quickly the White House message turns into a pressure tactic the moment a reporter refuses to play along. Because the exchange starts in a place that's supposed to be simple, questions about deportation flights, legal authority, and what happens while a case is on appeal. That's standard, boring accountability journalism. But Leavitt doesn't treat it like a policy question. She treats it like an insult, and that's the first red flag. When a spokesperson hears follow-up and translates it as attack, you're not watching information flow, you're watching narrative control. Then comes the pattern we've seen over and over. She tries to win the argument by changing the frame. Instead of giving a clear answer, she zooms out to the grand storyline: activist judges, abuse of the bench, foreign terrorists, the president's authority, and the emotional hook that always works on TV. They're stopping us from protecting you. It's a script designed to make any question sound like sabotage. You're not asking about process. You're allegedly helping the enemy. But here's the problem. The reporter doesn't let the script breathe. They push on specifics. And that's when the room shifts, because details are kryptonite to talking points. The moment a reporter corrects a claim in real time, like pointing out that a judge was initially appointed by a Republican before later being elevated, you can almost hear the oxygen leave the spin. That's the core reason she loses it. It's not that the reporter is being rude. It's that the reporter is doing the one thing modern political messaging cannot stand: fact-checking inside the room, on the spot, with no time for damage control. If the narrative depends on painting someone as a cartoon villain, Democrat activist judge, and the reporter adds a simple, verifiable detail that complicates the cartoon, the whole frame starts wobbling. And when the frame wobbles, the spokesperson has two choices: engage honestly or escalate emotionally. Leavitt chooses escalation. And this is where the political communication gets ugly. Instead of acknowledging the correction and moving on, she pivots to broader claims about injunctions, judges, and coordinated efforts, the kind of language that doesn't have to be proven in the moment because it's too big and too vague. Then she leans into the threat-based vibe, legal consequences, we'll fight you in court, accountability, and the implied message that everyone in the room understands, we're watching you. Now, to be fair, press secretaries don't literally control who goes to jail. But that's not the point. The point is the posture. When a spokesperson starts talking like questions are criminal, you're watching the culture of power reveal itself. It's the rhetorical cousin of nice credibility you have there, shame if something happened to it, and even if no direct threat is made, the performance still aims at the same outcome, to make the reporter and every reporter watching think twice before pressing again. And that's exactly why these moments matter, because this isn't really about one judge, one statute, or one set of flights. It's about the relationship between a government that wants total message discipline and a press that's supposed to interrupt that discipline with reality. You can also see how quickly the interview becomes a loyalty test. Leavitt isn't just answering the reporter, she's signaling to the base, I fought, I didn't flinch, I attacked back. The goal is to turn a correction into a fight and turn a fight into content. That's why these exchanges go viral. Not because they clarify policy, but because they show the raw mechanics of power: deflect, accuse, reframe, intimidate, and move on. So here's the takeaway. The most important moment isn't the loudest line. It's the moment the reporter calmly introduces a fact that disrupts the storyline, and the spokesperson reacts like that disruption is unacceptable. That tells you everything about what this administration fears, not protests, not critics, not even bad headlines. They fear specifics. They fear a room where the questions don't end at the first answer. They fear a camera capturing the gap between a sweeping claim and a stubborn detail. Because once that gap is visible, people start asking the dangerous follow-up. If they're willing to bend the truth on something this basic, what else are they bending when we're not looking? That's why the temperature rises. That's why the tone gets sharp. And that's why, instead of a straight answer, you get a performance of authority, the kind that tries to replace evidence with confidence and replace accountability with intimidation. If you want more breakdowns like this, where we slow down the spin, isolate the claims, and watch how power reacts when it gets challenged, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, and drop a comment. Was the reporter doing their job, or did Leavitt's reaction prove the reporter's point? Either way, one thing is clear. In that room, the truth wasn't managed. It was resisted.
Down his agenda.
So, given that, do you think it's a good use of Congress's time and the president's political capital to try to impeach and remove a federal judge, which would take 67 votes you're unlikely to get in the Senate?
Well, look, the president has made it clear that he believes this judge in this case should be impeached, and he has also made it clear that he has great respect for the Chief Justice John Roberts, and it's incumbent upon the Supreme Court to rein in these activist judges. These partisan activists are undermining the judicial branch by doing so. We have co-equal branches of government for a reason, and the president feels